Question: how many of you know or have a teenager or a tween that spends entirely too much time on their electronic device and you're worried about their posture? Or maybe it's you. Maybe you're spending too much time on your electronic devices and you're worried about your own posture. Whatever the case may be, my name's Dr. Darren Redinger. I'm a structural chiropractor and an owner at Illinois Spinal Care. And I want you to learn 3 things today, okay? I want to talk about what is poor posture and what causes it. I also want to talk about some of these negative effects. What are they? And then lastly, I want to talk about some solutions that I think everyone should be doing to make sure that we combat and prevent the negative effects of poor posture. Because electronic devices, they're not going anywhere. They're here to stay, and we need to fight against the negative impact, okay? But before I dive into that, I want to talk about something that baffles, okay? When I was in chiropractic school, poor posture, or more specifically, something called thoracic hyperkyphosis, okay? That's fancy for hunched posture. That was considered an elderly diagnosis. Happened to old people, right? Now, fast forward to right now, the National Institute of Health says that 40% of children in this country have poor posture. And 80% of Americans will have or have had to get treatment due to a negative effect of something related to their posture. That's huge. That's a huge amount of the population. That means the chances of someone that you know or love dealing with this is high, okay? So what has changed? Now, there's a lot of opinions out there, but I think the one undeniable thing that we can talk about is just the increase in use of these small electronic devices. They are everywhere, whether it be our phones, tablets, video games, PCs, whatever that may be, they literally are everywhere. And the use, especially in teens, has gone up dramatically. Now, I want to read you these numbers from a study so I get it correctly, okay? So one survey found that 45% of teens 13 to 17 report that they're online almost constantly. Not kinda, sometimes, constantly. With an additional 44% report that they're online several times a day. So if you're doing the math, that's 99% of teenagers. And if you happen to be the parent of one of those 1%, congratulations, but wow, that's a lot. That's affecting a great number of people, and we have to combat that, because this is happening as teens. This diagnosis is happening as teens. It used to be an elderly diagnosis not all that long ago. So first things first, okay? Why is posture a big deal? Well, posture, the outside, posture is a window to the spine, okay? Why is that a big deal? Because your spine houses your nervous system. Why is your nervous system a big deal? Because it literally controls everything. Okay? Everything. Your nerves control your movement, your intelligence, your motion, everything. Like things that you're not thinking about, like heartbeat, digestion, your mood. So super important system housed by your spine, which is your posture on the inside, okay? And so your nervous system is like, it's a mass of direct cables. Think a bunch of cables. The thoughts and signals come from your brain, sent down through the spinal cord, out through these cables called your nerves, and signals sent back. And much like any other system, you want that signal to be clear, okay? You also have a Wi-Fi system, such as your synapses that are sending signals. And the more clear these signals, the faster the speed, so to speak, and the better and the higher we function, okay? So again, why is this a big deal? Because if your posture is off and you're blocking or pinching these nerves, impeding the signal, multiple things can happen affecting things such as your memory, your body functions, all those things that I talked about earlier. So what causes bad posture? So the simple answer is a sustained position over time, okay? Our muscles have memory. We've heard of muscle memory, and ligaments, which attach bone to bone, they can stretch, kind of like plastic, right? You can mold plastic, heat it up, and put it in any position. Same with our ligaments, whether it be good or bad. So it's a good thing that they can move, but it's a bad thing if we have bad posture over sustained time, because then our muscles memorize this position, our ligaments hold this position, and we impede the nervous system and break down over time. Does that make sense? So what are the consequences of bad posture? Now, I already alluded to that bad posture affects the nervous system. Okay, so that can be a variety of all kinds of things, okay? But for today's discussion, because we're talking about electronic devices, I want to refer to two recent studies that talk about the direct effects of poor posture due to electronic devices, okay? Now, the first one, it makes a lot more sense. It's something that our minds can work with, because the first study talks about poor posture, or specifically what we call anterior head carriage. So if I turn over here, and I'm on a device, or I'm typing, or I'm reading over time hunched over, you can see what that does. We have a lot of nerves in here going to our brain, again, impeding that signal. And so it's actually earned a moniker called tech neck, using technology, but the effects and the direct relation of the impeding the nerves causing neck pain, headaches, lack of concentration. Okay, and I want to read this study again so I get these numbers. So the epidemiological data indicate that 73% of university students, okay, so think about college kids, from backpacks to lots of devices to being on their devices for fun, but 73% of university students and 64.7% of people that work from home, okay, that's a lot of people these days, have neck or back pain, potentially due to the increased addiction of electronic devices. I find that an interesting word, addiction. But yes, so neck pain and back pain due to the amount of time spent on your electronic devices. Again, sustained posture over time, impeding nerves. So that's one. We can kind of understand that one. And in fact, many of you may go see a chiropractor or someone directly related to this, or have heard that term tech neck. But the next study I want to refer to, it kind of is out of the box thinking, or something you may not think about. So the Journal of Physical Therapy reported that poor or slumped posture, again, thoracic hyperkyphosis, that term I used earlier, can have immediate negative impact on your respiratory function, meaning it hurts your ability to breathe. So think about what this does to kids with asthma or athletic performance, not being able to get proper respiration, or fatigue and energy levels when you're just not able to breathe. So it's not just pain, it's actual organ function. So why? How does this work? Now I'm gonna put up something called a Meric chart. In a Meric chart, basically what it does is it's showing the nerves coming out of the spine and where those nerves actually, what they control. Okay, and if you look at that chart right now, if you're hunching posture with your head forward and compressing those nerves, look where those nerves go directly to your lungs. It's like a water hose getting kinked. It's impeding that. You're not able to get a full breath, and you need to go find that kink, open it up so that nerve can flow, so the water hose can feed the garden or whatever that may be. So we're seeing that this is already a huge problem affecting millions and millions of people in this country, let alone other countries. And it's not going anywhere. In fact, I would argue that technology and devices are actually going to get smaller. I mean, my kindergartner already has a Chromebook in her backpack, so it's starting early and often. And so now the next question needs to be asked is, what can and what should we be doing to combat the negative effects of all of this electronic device use? So again, there's a lot of information out there based on ergonomics, how you should set up your workstation. Your tragus, this notch of your ear should be over your shoulder, over your hip, over your ankle. And that's absolutely true. All good information, but I really want to talk specifically about chiropractic. I'm a chiropractor, and I want to talk about things I know that can help and that we should be doing. And I think one of the easiest ways to do that is to talk about a real life case. And so I want to introduce and talk about a case that came in. His name was Ben. Okay, Ben was an 18-year-old senior, and he was actually referred into our offices from his medical doctor. He went in and he was having pain at the TL junction, thoracic lumbar junction. If you don't know where that is, it's kind of where your mid back and your low back meet. And in fact, I would say if you're standing too long or you're at your computer station and you feel that need to pop your back or stretch that area or feel the need to move up and stretch, that's the TL junction. But it was hurting him a lot. Okay, and so he went into his medical doctor. His medical doctor referred him to our office, and for a few reasons. One, the first thing we want to do was a history. And so not only did we understand that Ben's 18, he is a teenager, he's on his devices a lot, but we also found out that Ben's in a rock band. He's a bassist. He's hunched over, he's practicing for hours and hours on end, which also causes him to further hunch forward. Then we also did an exam, set some baselines with Ben and found out, what his discrepancies are, because I would say if you're going to get treatment, you need to set some baselines to understand where you are after treatment, understand not just am I feeling better, but am I better? Right? You want to know those things too. And then lastly, and most importantly, what we did is we took a full set of digital x-rays to build a spinal model of Ben's spine to say, there is an ideal of where he should be, okay? And when you look at these photos here, you're gonna see that that's represented in green. That's ideal. Kind of like if you went to an orthodontist, they're gonna show you that perfect smile. There is a normal shape to your spine. But it's not about just how you look. Again, remember back to what we talked about already. It is about how your body functions. You want to make sure that your nerves are free of interference to communicate so that your body functions at a high level. And then we're going to compare where Ben actually is, and that's going to be the red line. And again, you're trying to see those lines superimposed. The closer they are, the better it is. The further apart, the more we know what we need to do to try to return his spine to as near normal as possible. Does that make sense? So with some treatment with Ben, what we did is we analyzed it, we took care of him, and 10 weeks later, yes, 10 weeks, guys, I wanted to show a case because 10 weeks to change something that had been developing for a very long time. It's not that long, but if someone says, hey, in a couple visits, we can get you back to where you need to be, I don't think that I would agree with that. That'd be like going to the gym and you're starting with a personal trainer. You want to look like Mr. or Miss Olympia, and they tell you, in a couple workouts you can do that. If you're like, sounds too good to be true, probably is. This stuff takes good old-fashioned hard work. And with Ben, we had to do 10 weeks of adjustments, okay, where we're realigning his spine, we're removing the pressure off of those nerves, decreasing pain, increasing function. Ben felt better in a few visits, like a lot better. But again, it's not just about pain. We also had to teach him a postural exercise in which we had to get his forward head posture back, and we had to get that hunched posture forward. And I think I'll include a photo here so you can kind of see what that exercise looks like. It's very specific. Now again, you could use this for yourself at home, but you really need to see what an x-ray looks like to understand what your blueprint looks like. Not everyone's x-ray needs this exercise, and you have to make the proper adjustments to this exercise to fit the actual blueprint. I always say you don't want to build a house without a blueprint. You don't really want to take care of the body without one either. And so x-rays are super important, especially as a structural chiropractor, to understand what the structure is so we can return it to as near normal as possible, okay? And so we did all of that. Ben actually required something further. I wanted to show this because Ben needed something called mechanical traction, where we had to literally stretch or use a device to stretch his ligaments back to as near normal as possible. You know, very much think what an orthodontist does with your teeth. They're stretching your teeth back in that perfect position. We had to stretch the ligament back. But you can do that in office to where, you know, obviously we don't send a device home where he's wearing that all the time. But I wanted to show you a more complicated case that took 10 weeks, that took multiple things, because the majority of cases absolutely don't need all of that. But I wanted to show you one that does, so you understand that we can deal with complicated cases and we can deal with cases that aren't. And also we deal with cases that really don't need anything other than adjustments or maintenance. And speaking of maintenance, Ben is on maintenance now, okay? I want to make that very clear, because we talk about living your best life now and later. Now, we got Ben feeling better, but what about later? We have to maintain the spine. An orthodontist doesn't change the structure with the braces and not recommend a retainer. It doesn't make sense. We have to maintain his spine, and we do that on a monthly basis to keep him in alignment, and it works really, really well. And he feels great, and he works at a computer a lot now. That's a case, and I want to show you how are we doing. Boom, there is where he was, there's where he is now, and he's super happy. And he's feeling great, but this is going to change his life, not just 10 days, 10 weeks, but we're talking 10, 20 years down the line, as long as you maintain it. And again, everything requires maintenance, whether it's your car or your home. We have to maintain it to keep it moving. So in my humbly biased chiropractic opinion, I think everyone, literally everyone, should be getting their spine checked to know where they are compared to that ideal. Because if we can start earlier to make those corrections as kids are growing and developing, we can prevent many of the things and the breakdown that can happen as adults. We learned that a long time ago in dentistry with teeth. The difference is you can get new teeth or implants, but you only have one spine. We have to take care of it. So I'm calling you to action today. I'm saying take the time, invest in the opportunity, call, make an appointment to get yourself and your family checked. Ensure that your family's been taken care of, because we know the devices are going to be there. They are going to cause a breakdown. We need to combat that, because we want to be able to move and play and work and travel and be independent in our later years and as we age as well. Guys, I really appreciate the opportunity, and I hope you make that call, whether it's in one of our offices or someone else that does this sort of work. It could be the best investment that you make in yourself and your family. Have a great day.